Hello and welcome to The Footprint. My name is Samuel Attah-Mensah. Today we are here to walk in the footprints of a wonderful man, somebody who has seen it all. I refer to him as an institution, but I won't talk much. I want you to watch this video, and when you're done, we'll come back and have our chat with him.
A native of the Volta region, lawyer Samuel Okudzeto is a man who has played diverse roles in the politics of Ghana. After completing his secondary education, he taught at the Didome EP Middle School and then at Somenya Universal Commercial College. Mr. Okudzeto moved to Accra, where he worked for almost a year, after which he left to the United Kingdom to study accounting and later law, a profession for which he is well respected. Upon his return to Ghana, Sam Okudzeto during the Second Republic ventured into politics and served as a member of parliament for several years. The legal luminary, as president of the Ghana Bar Association during the time of the PNDC, also played a pivotal role in getting the country back to democracy. Lawyer Sam Okudzeto will tell the rest of his story on Footprints now.
We salute you.
Thank you.
Uncle Sam, we salute you once again.
Thank you.
And thank you for giving us the opportunity to be with you today. So, Sam Okudzeto, is a name that resonates with a lot of activity in this country. How do you describe yourself?
How do I describe myself? Well, I'm a Ghanaian.
Yes.
And I happen, by the grace of God, to be a lawyer. And I often joke to people that I had never contemplated that I was going to be a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because when I left the shores of Ghana on the 2nd of September 1956, I went to England to study accountancy.
Mm-hmm.
I arrived in England on the 4th of September, second day, because that time, it's not like now where you can just go to the airport and fly to Europe. The plane that I took was Air France. They stopped in Lomé, stopped in Cotonou, Benin, now Benin Republic. That time used to call Dahomey.
Yes.
And I slept there. The following day in the evening, I took the plane again. We stopped in Algiers, and then in Paris in the morning. Then I was in London before noon. And then in the evening, I was in Leeds, in Yorkshire, by train.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my 21st birthday.
Wow.
And that period, you are only of age when you are 21.
Mm-hmm.
That means I left when I was not a man. When I arrived there, I became a man.
So you left Ghana. Yes. Okay, let me just take you back a bit. Mm-hmm. You were born in Attah-Mensah.
I was born at Attah-Mensah. Mm-hmm. I went to school, primary school there, and then continued my primary school at Vuti, mm-hmm. and then later on middle school at Aveime, mm-hmm. Near Bato. And then from there I went to Zion College.
Tell me about Zion College.
Zion College was a very unique institution.
Mm.
It was set up by Reverend Dr. Ferdinand Kwasi Fiawu, who was an American educated individual. So in the setting of the school, you can find out that there were a lot of American concepts put into it. Mm-hmm. For example, whereas people who are going to Achipota and the rest will study subjects strictly for the examination, ours was not like that. Mm. We buried so many other subjects which were not part of the final examination. You normally will drop the rest when you are towards the end. Mm-hmm. So yesterday I was talking to a friend. I said, do you know that we study ethics from Form 1? He says, why? I say, yes. we studied ethics.
Wow.
We studied mannerism. We call it etiquette now.
The etiquette, yeah.
Etiquette. We study etiquette. And so normally when I'm teaching at the law school, I tell my students that teaspoon is for stirring and tasting only. The Ghanaians use teaspoon to drink.
Yeah, to drink the tea.
But it's not. That is not what it is meant for. It is
Because
meant,
our tea, we have Milo tea.
Yeah, no. Whatever it is meant to stir and then to taste. Thereafter, it's abandoned because you're supposed to drink from the cup.
No, we don't know that.
Well, I learned that from Form 1.
Wow.
So you can see sometimes the so-called village school, some of them are superior.
That's very true.
To the other ones.
That is very true. But I'm not so sure if at the time Zion College was regarded as a village school.
Well, it was a private school
Yes.
as opposed to some of the other
But with
big
high
institutions.
reputation.
Very high reputation because you can see some of the products that came out of.
Remember some of them when
Oh.
you were there?
Oh yeah. I mean, you can. Alex Ashagbo, who became governor of the
Governor
Central
of the
Bank.
Bank
Yeah,
of
he was
Ghana.
my senior in the school there.
Wow.
Mr. Kalenchi of the VRE, he left even before I got there.
Kalechi. Yes.
VRE. I mean, these
Yeah.
are just some
Wow.
of the other
Well,
ones.
these are senior guys.
Oh yeah.
And then after you, we have
had Professor Manume, the historian.
Yeah. We have
He
Nyahu
was
Tamako,
behind.
Dr. Nyahu.
Yeah,
Tamaklo.
they were younger ones behind
Yes,
after
but
I had
Captain
left.
Captain So who was?
Yeah, all
around
of them we had left before they got there.
Oh, because he is 82.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's true.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
No,
must
so
be-
who was there?
Yes.
So who came after me?
That's correct.
Yes, he was my junior.
Because he
school.
speaks so highly
That
of
is-
Zion
that's-
College.
That's correct.
But what happened to Zion College?
He's still there.
Yeah.
He's still there.
But it's not in the league of schools in the Volta region. I'm not so sure
Well,
where it's placing.
when it's, the thing is private, so you can find out that the resources which are needed to pop up is not there.
And then when the owners are no more,
Yeah,
it
but
goes through a phase.
they're still doing reasonably well. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, not
Do you
as
go
famous
there?
as used to be.
Have
Oh,
you
yeah.
been there?
Oh yes. In fact, 2 years ago, I was actually the guest of honor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then they must be very honored to have you there.
Well, it was honor for me also to be.
And so from Zion College,
Yes.
you wrote the ordinary level.
Yes, that's right. And then I taught for a year as a, that time we call it pupil teacher.
Pupil teacher.
Yeah.
Okay.
I taught for a year. Then I went to Somania Universal Commercial College as a
Yeah.
tutor. But then at the same time, I thought I was learning accounts.
But that was
and
also
the
a
rest.
big school at the time.
Yeah, at the time, yes, that was also very good. But I was a tutor there. But then I came to the artistic department, now
Of course,
corporation.
corporation,
But the structure is still there, the same place as they are. Yeah.
So
I
worked with
I worked there
ECG
for a year.
as a clerk.
That's right. Yeah, in the accounts department.
Oh, so you studied some accounting in school?
Yeah,
then?
because when I was teaching at Somania Universal College,
College,
I was studying accountancy as well.
Oh, you were studying? Was
Well,
it the same
just
school?
only part time, but I was actually a tutor.
Yeah, but you're studying accounting where? Correspondent?
No.
In the same school?
Somania Universal College,
Yeah.
they learn bookkeeping, they learn shorthand, and
you're
other
teaching
things. Yeah,
and you're
but
a
I was
student
teaching English. I was
Oh.
teaching English, history, and secondary school subjects. Geography. I was teaching them.
And you were fluent with the language as well? Because
Yeah. Well, no, but they don't. The school was composed of people from all around the country.
Okay.
It is not the Krobo people themselves were quite few.
But
But I know the language.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I know the language, so I communicate with them.
So how many languages do you speak?
Oh, not that
local languages.
I only have Attah and Ga.
Okay, so from there, how did you get yourself into the United Kingdom? Scholarship?
No. I was a private student. My father sponsored me to
We are
go
told
there.
your father was very wealthy.
Well, by the standards of the time and place, yes.
UAC? UTC?
No, he was a UTC storekeeper. But I guess his
That was
wealth.
like a mayor.
Well, it's always an important thing if you're a storekeeper in a community You find out that you become the pivot of attraction, privileged person, so that is what happened.
So you paid your way?
Yes, I paid my way to go to England, and actually went there and stayed there as a private student. Even though the time I was there, the majority of the Ghanaian students who were there, they all on Cocoa Marketing Board scholarship, but I was not given one.
Wow. Is it because you didn't like it?
No, I mean, that was the...
Of course, you had the means, so...
No, it was not a question of me, because I knew a lot of people who went there on Cocoa Marketing Board scholarship, and they were still being sponsored by their parents. But it was part of the politics of the time that was being played. They had this called NASO, National Association of Socialist Students, which was part of the branch of the CPP. And I was not interested in the politics. And at that time, they actually promised to give me a scholarship, but it never came through.
Good. So you ended up in Leeds,
Yeah.
in the Yorkshire area.
Yorkshire.
And when you were going, what did you think you were going to study?
I went to go, actually not what I think. I actually went, registered in the Leeds College of Commerce as an accountancy student. Then...
And which year would that be again?
This 56.
56,
Yeah,
okay.
56.
And
then by December or so, the principal called me and he said, you didn't register with the Institute of Chartered Accountants. And normally you must be registered to be an article clerk. So, but you are here as a full-time student. So he would like to arrange for me to leave the full-time program and arrange for articleship. I said, all right. I mean, he didn't have any choice. A few weeks later, he called me back and he says, oh, well, you can still be a full-time student. You can study and become company secretary. That one still includes accountancy, but you learn company administration at the same time, including economics, law, accounting, and so on. I said, okay. So it was like a switch, which means that I had to abandon certain subjects and add some other subjects to it. So I agreed. So I did that. But I went with O-level. And so I studied in the College of Commerce. Once you are a full-time student, you can take any number of classes you like. So I took advantage and attended so many other classes. So I took the A-level in addition to what I was already doing. But I completed the program in just a little over 2 years. But it was meant to be a 5-year program.
Ooh.
So
You didn't have friends there?
I had friends, but I was also focused on what I went there to
Were
do.
you anti-so? You know what they call antisocial?
Oh, no. Far from that. Oh, no. Normally...
You used to go to town?
Oh, the school was actually in town. And weekend we go with students, we all go dancing. That's for part of our weekend, Saturday like that, we all go out to dance, to go and dance.
What kind of mix of students did you encounter?
We had a lot of students, Ghanaian students, Nigerian students, some from Sierra Leone, all of them mixed together.
We didn't have people from the Yorkshire area?
Oh, no. What I mean is that we have African students as well as the ones that were, I mean, the white people were in majority. We were, the blacks were quite few.
You didn't have a problem hearing them when they spoke English?
Well, to tell you the truth...
I mean, that has been my personal problem with the people.
Well, I was a little bit snobbish, you should have to put it that way, because...
You couldn't be bothered.
Normally, when you are speaking, they say, oh, you speak good English. Then I look at them and I said, I speak the Queen's English. You speak with accent. So it was a lot of fun just to see them there. You know. Then of course, during the vacation times, sometimes I get employed in the post office to sort out mails or distribute mails. It's Easter time. I work in a coffee shop, cleaning dishes. Then sometime in the summer, I'm working as a bus. First tram conductor, later on bus conductor. So you can see and say, Talov, You held the old ladies onto the bus, and you can see how grateful they are to you. It was really exciting.
Wow. Yeah. And some people, the thing gets into their head and they forget about the studies and they remain bus conductors for the rest of their lives.
Well, some people end up that way.
Yeah.
But at least I knew why I went there. So
course.
It was just to augment my income that I undertake those kind of projects.
Great. So 2 years and a bit, you were done with the accounting or the company secretaryship course.
Yeah. So when I finished that, one of my tutors who was teaching us the law subject, he was a barrister. But he came and he said, "Oh, why don't you take a law degree in addition to the company secretaryship?" So it sounds reasonable. So I applied to London University and got registered. So I took the intermediate exam and passed. And eventually I moved to London. And
that's University of London.
University of London. Well, University of London, actually there's a college.
Which college was it?
University of London has various institutions. So normally if I hear someone said, I went to University of London, I'm always skeptical.
You're waiting for the
I'm asking to indicate which institution he studied, because I said University of London is not Senate House. University of London is composed of various institutions. Eventually I got admitted to King's College, London.
King's College.
Yeah.
Good school.
First class school.
First class school.
That's right.
Good. You train as a barrister, not a solicitor.
No. I was enrolled at the Inns of Court.
Yes.
In the Inner Temple. So I was called to the bar eventually.
Lovely. In the UK.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
At the time, had you informed your father that you had changed?
I told. Yes. I had to.
Was he happy with you?
Oh, I think he was excited, because that was not what he has anticipated. But at least at that time he knew about Ghanaians like Fred Apalo, who became Chief Justice, Anijage, Lassé, Valère. These were all famous Anglos who were.
Yeah, because it sounded like most of the lawyers or the prominent lawyers back then were mostly Southerners. Am I correct to say that?
Yeah, that is very true. It's very true. And the reason was simple. Again, it's a question of the way education came into Ghana. It was brought by the missionaries. And so you find a place like Mfansipim was a missionary institution. And in Eveland, it was the Bremen missionaries who came from Germany. They brought education there. And if you do the history, you find out that almost every reasonable sized town in the Volta region had a school. It was almost like standard. So everybody goes to school, if you like to put it that way, and had an opportunity there. Yeah. So many of them were people who had, therefore become educated.
Yeah.
So among the Gans, the Fantis, all of them on the coast had missions and mission schools. And that was the reason why many of them became the first group of lawyers.
Prominent ones.
Prominent ones. Asante, because a guest of royalty, the royals at the beginning were looking at education as if it's for an alien thing. But eventually you find out that I think Attah-Mensah had a policy of, you can call it assimilation, where they try to offer a certain number of scholarships to get a certain Asante people, some even from the north to come here, Alassani and the rest from the north to come in. That was a fantastic concept. So that changed the equilibrium. And of course, eventually, the royals themselves established Prempeh College. So their education was now open.
To match the Attah-Mensah
exactly
thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
but you'd be surprised that even when I was at Zion College, people came from Asante to Zion College.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course. I mean, it's what you see with SOS today, Ghana International School.
People are coming all over. Yeah.
Good.
We even have students coming from Nigeria.
So when you were called to the bar, did you practice in the UK?
No, actually what happened was that I studied in England and I went to Belgium. this time scholarship. The College of Europe established what they call the first African fellowship. So I was given that fellowship. So I studied there. And by then I was called to the bar. And that time there was a threat to say that Ghana was setting up its own law school. And that if you did not come by this particular period, you may have to go to the law school before you can qualify. So that made me come back.
Okay.
So I didn't practice.
All right.
Yes,
Right.
so I came back.
So which year did you come back to Ghana?
In 63.
In 63. So
Yes,
you had
yeah.
been away for a total of 10 years.
No, 7.
7 years.
Yeah.
Okay, 63.
Yeah.
Okay, so now 63 is about coming back as a full lawyer or barrister to begin life as a young man.
That's right.
Which time you'll be 27, 28 years.
27, yeah. Nearly 20. No, nearly 27.
Lovely. So we'll come back to you. So listeners, you've been listening to Mr. Sam, or lawyer Sam Okudzeto, and telling us about his early life and beginnings, education, back to the UK and back, and how he got into law. Now he's coming back. In fact, he has come back to Ghana, but we will take a break. When we come back, we will find out how he got himself into all the political, back and forth with Kutua Champong, Unigov, yes or no, and all the name, the now with Bedema and all these things. So we'll be right back. This is still Footprint. Welcome back to the program. This is Footprint on Citi TV, and I'm here with Uncle Sam Okudzeto. Uncle Sam, now you are back in Ghana, young lawyer. Tell us, how did you get yourself, back into the system? Did you have to go back to the Volta region?
Oh, no. Actually, I never went to the Volta region at all.
Oh, okay.
I stayed in Accra all the time. What happened when I came, there was a close friend of mine, and actually we became friends when I was in Leeds. He was then in Huddersfield. And then later on, he moved to Leeds University. He's called Fred Sagbafia. And he was married to a West Indian girl from Barbados. So he studied law. And then from Leeds University, then he came to London to do the bar. Because in London, in England, it does not matter where you study. If you want to be a barrister, then you must still come back to London. So he came to London, and then I also moved from Leeds to London. And he came to Ghana a year before me. So when I returned, I didn't know anybody in Accra. So I spent 6 months living with him and his family before I found my own accommodation.
Yes, yeah.
And then he took me into the chambers where he was working and introduced me to his boss, who was then Professor Alex Kuma. He was from the law faculty, but he was also a partner in the law firm called Law Chambers. These law chambers were set up by CPP lawyers, which included him, Alex Kuma. It also included Aaron Oforiatta, who then later on became a minister under Nkrumah. Yeah. So this was the chambers. So he took me there, and he and Professor Kuma became my mentors. Later on, he moved to go and set up his own chambers, but I remained with Professor Kuma. But because Professor Kuma was 1 feet in law, 1 feet at Legon, he virtually left a lot of issues for me to handle. So sometimes I tell people that I was like somebody who was thrown into the river,
into the deep
and
end.
they say float. So I had no choice but to learn to swim, and then to swim
within the
shortest possible time. I think this is what happened to me. And he was also at that time, because his wife was a doctor, but an Indian. So he was connected with virtually all the Indian community. And so there was also an Indian insurance company of which he was acting for. Yeah. So virtually you can now see that now I'm doing all that work.
That's correct.
So if there's an accident and the driver is charged in Koforidua Court, I'm there. If it's Somanya Court, I am there. If it's in Ho, I am there. So I'm moving around.
You were busy.
I was very busy. In fact, sometimes when I reflect, I say, hey, God's grace has been with you all this time, because how did you survive all this? Because it's like I have to wake up at dawn, hire a taxi, and then be at Ho in court. Then when I finish, I'm driving back to Accra to office to come and work. Sometimes even going all the way to, let's say, Secondary or Takrady, and then back to work. So you can see the kind of work that I was doing. I even remember driving all the way to Tamale to court and driving back to Accra.
At this time, 63, 64, so they were getting to the mid-60s.
That's right.
Which time Nkrumah was still...
Nkrumah was there, yes. Nkrumah, when I was there,
heavily present.
Nkrumah was overthrown in 1966. And coincidentally, my boss was part of the Nkrumah's Socialist Study Group. They are the intellectual inner caucus who sit down and discuss intellectual issues and the rest. He was involved in it.
We are not drawn into it?
I did not, because of what had transpired. They ignored me. I also did not like politics, not even politicians. I keep away from them, even though there are people I interact with all the time.
What did you think of politicians?
It's just mistrust.
They were greedy?
Yes, it's mistrust.
Greedy?
You think that they are more interested in themselves. I don't want to use the word greedy.
Has it changed?
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I think those phenomena are still with us. Yes, a lot of people, even the younger ones, they enter politics with a view to themselves
first.
Yes, but I don't believe that that's what politics is meant to be. It is service.
Well, you have showed that throughout your life.
It is service.
So you're saying when Nkrumah was overthrown, what happened to Prof. Kumar?
Well, that's what I was. The story very interesting. That Nkrumah was overthrown. The day Nkrumah was overthrown, that day was Professor Kumar's birthday. And we had then arranged to celebrate his birthday at the Beachcomber. Now, you wouldn't know what Beachcomber is.
No.
Beachcomber was a nightclub set up at the Ambassador Hotel. Now, Kempinski at our back here.
Moving Peak, actually.
Moving Peak.
Yeah,
Moving Peak. Yes, it was actually with the Ambassador Hotel. And we went there that evening and celebrated. And surprisingly, there was no curfew.
Yes. but
that was the only queue where there was no curfew.
But the news had not come in yet.
Oh, no. The morning
of the birthday
of that day, the announcement came about the overthrow. And police and soldiers were all around.
And Professor Kumar still celebrated?
We still celebrated.
Oh, it means he didn't really care about it.
Well, no, I don't want to use that word, but I'm just trying to tell you that it was a different kind of atmosphere altogether. That even he celebrated his birthday. We went out and had a nice evening without any issues, kind of harassment or anything like that.
And what happened after Nkrumah was overthrown?
Well, after Nkrumah was overthrown, the NLC came into office. Kotoka, then General Ankara was made the head of state. And Ankara was very interesting because my older brother, he was, at the time I came back, he was the general manager, the district manager for GNTC, stationed at Odumase Krobo. Then he had misunderstanding with Fitzgerald, who was the managing director. So they...
The white guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
USC, former USC person, yeah. So they terminated his appointment. And he became quite close to General Ankara. So we actually used to go to General Ankara at Asylum down here. Yes.
That was some of those were your proud moments as a young man who had access to the head of state.
Well, but the question that we didn't think about it for anything because there was not any personal gain that
No, when you are
wanted.
chatting with your friends, you can tell them I just came from the head of state.
Well, what I'm saying is that to me, it does not mean much.
No, you are humble.
He was a nice person. He was a person you can converse with anything like that, you know. I remember someone came doing something and said, "Many bulu I knew feel."
Thank you. That's a gun. That's a real gun man talking.
That's right. Many bulu I knew feel. Obanyo okay, Queen Elizabeth. I hear that car.
That's good. So fast forward, you got yourself into now through Bedema's party, or you are part of the formation.
Those things happen later on. Let me just again fast track. What happened was that in '68, the Constituent Assembly was set up to debate and discuss and formulate the new constitution for Ghana.
Yeah.
And before then, the Akufo-Addo committee had brought up a draft proposals for consideration. Now, then there has to be an election for people to go to the Constituent Assembly. And coincidentally, my boss went and stood near his village area, which is near the Hokwe area there, to go to the Constituent Assembly. He was not elected.
Hey, trouble.
Then something strange happened. There was a close friend of mine whom I actually got to know through him, because he was called Victor Akwadonvo. He was one of the bosses of Mobile Oil. But he was also married to an Indian, like my boss. So that's how we came close. But he was also a Catholic. He was one of those vivacious individuals. He was a Boy Scout, big man in the Boy Scouts movement. He was also the General Secretary of the Catholic Youth Organization.
CYO then.
CYO. So he was one of the board members. So during the discussion period, they were discussing the draft constitution. So normally he will invite me to come and explain this to the CYO people. So one day, it was a Friday, he called me and he said, "Sam, I'm sorry, I should have told you before, but CYO has nominated you to be their candidate for the Ghana National Youth Council election for a representative to go to the Constituent Assembly. And the election was the following Saturday. That means the following day will be held at Borden Power Memorial Hall. All he is telling me that I should just come and I show my face, nothing more." So he was so close to me that I couldn't argue with him.
Yeah.
So I went and I was elected. So I became the representative of the Ghana National Youth Council in the Constituent Assembly.
Good.
Now, actually, I did not realize the magnitude of that position. But in the Constituent Assembly, I moved a motion to reduce the voting age to 18, which was accepted. One day I was a little late in coming. When I came, someone called me and said, they've reversed the decision. I said, how? So I walked to the speaker. I said, Blay. I said, Mr. Speaker, how can you do a thing like that? Then he looked at me and said, "You small boy, you want to be president." So I was so shocked when I said, "President? Am I insane?" Now, mind you, I was around 33 or something like that.
Yeah.
That was all I was. I said, how? It was then that I realized that I have more votes than all of them in the assembly put together. Because I was representing all the youth of Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
So it was in that Constituent Assembly that Professor Busia started his movement to set up the Progress Party. He was also a member of that Constituent Assembly. And then 2 good friends of mine I made in the assembly. One of them I realized later on was even a relative. Was Dr. K.G. Agama, Godfred Agama, and Dr. Obeda Samuel. They were both teaching at Legon. So they said they were also going with Gbadama to discuss the possibility of forming a political party. So I should also come along. So that is how I came to be with Gbadama as you were putting together.
Okay. And then NAL came.
Then we formed NAL, and then I was elected
Member of Parliament. For
Tongu, North Tongu.
Oh, so this is the same place where the current Okudzeto
He is actually only having half my constituency.
Yeah, but look, geographically the same area.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because now
that's your nephew, right?
My direct nephew, my younger brother's son.
Oh, okay. But he's NDC.
Yes.
But you are not.
My family is always like that. Some people go this way, some go that way.
Okay. So young lawyer now in Parliament.
That is so.
With some of the big boys and the people you used.
No, big boys. They were big people I used to hear when I was a young person. I never realized I could be able to.
Remember some of them?
Oh, very well. William Furiata, for example. William Furiata, K. Busia was there. Johnson Furiata was there. Kufuor?
Yeah.
Kufuor was there.
But he was younger than you.
He was younger than me. Yeah. But there were a lot of old people, Sakis Kek. I mean, a lot of very, very famous people were in both the Constituent Assembly and also in the Parliament.
Tell me, was what do you call it? Alajete there?
No, Peter. Yeah, Peter became an MP later. Yes, that is correct.
Good.
Yeah, Peter was there.
So this would now take us into Busia's time.
That's correct.
You remember some of the experiences then?
Yeah, well, Busia's time was one of those turbulent areas. I think one of the tragic situations that arose was what we call Apollo 568, when a lot of...
Sorry, permit me. Some of, we've had this Apollo 568 and people's commentaries about. I mean, you lived it. You were really a member of Parliament. So can you just briefly tell us what it was all about?
Well, what happened was that part of it will be my own analysis and deduction. Is to say that there were a lot of evils in the army and the police and the prisons. And you know that the coup that overthrew Nkrumah was led by Kotoka, who was a Navy. Now, Kotoka, we knew that much of the intelligence was provided by the police, and the police was headed by Halley,
who was also
Ewe. Halley's, one of his commissioners was the coup,
yes.
Who was in charge of, let's say, you might call it CID. Therefore, much of the intelligence gathering and the rest of them was heavy. And I would have thought that should be something they should commend those people for, because after all, the coup was to remove Nkrumah, who was a thorn against Busia and the who had to go into exile. But it turns out the other way around, that I think on suspicion that the Eves might make a coup, what they did was to appoint Kutua Champong, who was then a colonel, to be in charge of the 1st Infantry Brigade. I think ostensibly to prevent the Ewe boys from making a coup. But if they had known the background of Champong, that should have been the last thing for them to do. He organized rather to overthrow the same Busia who had put him there, which was sad. But
Champong was in Takran then.
No,
before he was brought in.
Yeah, before he was brought in, yes, he was brought in.
To Ho, is that correct?
No. He was the 1st Infantry Brigade.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
Arakan.
Actually, a question. I think it was question. Yeah, it was a question camp. But then, just to jump the issue again, is that then they dismiss a lot of the airbase from certain positions.
Led by Kutua Champong?
No. This was Busia.
Okay.
Champong was the one who overthrew Busia.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But I'm talking about what happened during Busia's time.
Okay.
So the airbase were laid off. And of course, we didn't understand why that should be. One of those was unfortunate because this man was working with GNTC and he was not even holding a government position. And I knew from conversation with people that he was actually a friend to the then Attorney General. So the thing was a puzzle.
Who was?
Victor Usu.
Victor Usu, okay.
Victor Usu. So the whole thing became a puzzle to some of us as to what was the basis for it. Why lay off those people? Then the stories we heard was that they are all in the army, they hold these positions. And I said, but it looks like people don't study history to appreciate that things just don't happen. That the reason why there were so many Eves in certain positions in those institutions was because they were artisans. And they were artisans because of the German background. That Togo was a German colony. Now, then the two Togolands, it was divided after the First World War and shared between France and
Germany.
No, and Britain. So one became the mandated Togoland. But then the missionaries who came were the Bremen missionaries. They were also from Germany. And so when they came, they brought education. But as part of education, they ensured that there is vocational training all the time. So it does not matter you are going to school, you learn to do carpentry, or you learn farming, you learn this and that. And so many of the people, whether they go to school or they don't go to school, they all get apprenticed. So they learn a trade. So they are the master masons, carpenters, blacksmiths, goldsmiths. And these are the very ones whom the army required. The police also required. The prisons also required. Now, because they were educated before acquiring those trades, when eventually they decided to have officer training, they were already educated people who were already in the system, so it's easier to take them and train them to become officers. This was the reason for it.
Yeah.
So I couldn't understand. I said, well, if you do that, what you should have done was that if you wanted to have more people from one area to augment those who are already there, what you do is that you limit the inflow this way and make more inflow from the other side, and then you can easily have a balance. And this, unfortunately, is what happened in this Apollo 568.
So that's what was referred to as. It was massive.
It was massive. It was shattering, just to see what happened, and we had to have a whole debate in Parliament about that matter. And if you get the Hansard, you can study it. In fact, part of it I've quoted in my biography, Sam. And it was unfortunate, again, as I said, because in that debate, Victor also got heated. And then he used the word, "Always and inward looking." And that has become a whole slogan being used against the Progress Party and then even MPP up to today.
Was it to justify why he would remove Eves from positions?
Victor also had practiced law with him, highly intelligent, very argumentative. And one person when he likes to win an argument. So when you like to win an argument, it's dangerous because it means you use every weapon that comes to you, you use it without realizing the consequences of the weapon that you are using. And I think this is why that unfortunate statement came
from Victor Usu. Did you think that he had something against Eves necessarily?
Well, this is what I'm saying, that a lot of his close friends were Eves.
Okay.
Including even Badama. If you look at his house, Badama's house is behind his. Badama's house is actually behind his.
Did you think he was joking?
No, he wasn't joking, but it was part of his intellectual makeup. He likes to win an argument. Because when we're in Parliament, I can tell you, if I want him to do something, I go and sit with him and talk with him, and the matter would have been concluded. But if it was the floor of the house, no way.
He loved to hear his own voice.
Oh, he's just good argumentator, which was very, very, very unfortunate.
Wow.
Yeah, because I did not believe that they were tribalists as such.
Okay,
But
okay.
I
Of
think
course,
it
you
just-
knew
I know
them.
them.
So,
I know all of them. I know all
Wow.
of them.
Well, so this is Uncle Sam here telling us about the Apollo 568,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Well, from the 568,
It was a number of people involved. That's the reason for it.
Okay, so you are still watching The Footprint, and today we are talking to Uncle Sam Okudzeto. When we come back, we would come and meet Kutu Achampong as the head of state, and we'll see how Uncle Sam and his group of lawyers and well-educated people hustled Kutu Achampong till we sacked him. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the program. This is Footprints, and I'm here with Uncle Sam Okudzeto. Uncle Sam, so you were in Parliament, very active, representing your people. That's North Tongue.
Not them.
And then one day you woke up and there was a coup d'etat. How did you take the news?
Well, the truth, of course, is that some of us were suspicious of certain kind of occurrences. So let me put it that I was not so shocked,
Okay.
particularly when I heard about Achampong. Then I said, what is their own person? How come? So what kind of blunder could they have committed? Busia committed by making a man like that to overthrow him. You know?
Yeah.
So that was actually the
But who were
initial.
involved in that coup, if you remember?
Yes, it was Achampong. There was Major Agbo from Peki, Major Salome from Anglon. And then there is this man, I always miss his name. He was from Brong and Hafo. Yeah. They were the people that he had used to overthrow the people. And that morning, when the thing happened, some of us went to Bedama, just find what's going on. And then I realized that there were a lot of people who were trooping to Bedama's house, including Kwesi Saki, who was a former ambassador to the UN. And then Major Salome came. Then I found out that Major Salome was trying to find out what they should do.
After taking over power.
So we realized that these are people who were more interested in removing someone than in governing. So we made a suggestion to them to say, look, you've arrested this Progress Party people you've locked up. It will not help anybody. So just release them, and then let's form a government of national unity to represent the CPP that was previously overthrown, because they were banned from participating in the electoral process. Then some from NAL, some from Progress Party to form a government. Then I think later on most of them realized that Bedama was not involved in the coup. When they realized that, they started trooping to Burma camp to begin lobbying there. And I think it was that lobbying that made the soldiers to say that, look, these politicians, they are all just after position, so let's govern ourselves. So quite unlike the NLC, because the NLC, when they made the coup, the soldiers realized that they were not experts at governing. So what they did was to appoint all the various principal secretaries as ministers. So they were only like an umbrella body to consult. But in this particular instance, because of what the politicians were lobbying about, the soldiers themselves decided now that they will govern. So this is the tragedy of what happened. And I remember that one very well, because when we were at Bedama's house, someone came and said there was a phone call. And then I was asked to go and see Kutu Achampong, General Achampong.
On behalf of?
No, just that he wanted to talk to me. So, of course, I couldn't make any head as to why he would want to talk to me. But then, out of respect, I asked where. They told me that I should go to the Kweshi camp.
The camp, yes.
I said, all right. So the following morning I went and I met with him. Then conversation, he was asking me about Afrifa. That he heard that I had some documents or documentation or something on Afrifa. And I should make them available to him. So some quick thinking. And I said, but you made the coup. You have not made any broadcast to let the people know why you had overthrown the government that was elected. So why don't you talk to the people? Let them know what is going on. So I was there when he took his walkie-talkie and spoke to the principal secretary and to come so that they can discuss. So I went away. Maybe he was thinking that I was going to bring him some information that he can't. Of course, when I was going, I said, stupid man, you have overthrown government, actually parliament, because normally I have to warn people that because they said that Busia government was overthrown. And I tell them, no, parliament was overthrown, which included myself. Yeah. So I should not be rejoicing.
But Busia was also a parliamentarian.
We were all both in parliament. He was prime minister. So why should I be rejoicing because the prime minister was removed when parliament, of which I am a member, was also overthrown? So I said, he never saw me again until much later on when well, you heard about the movement for freedom and justice.
That's correct.
People's movement for freedom and justice when Bedama, William Furiata.
But tell me, so now Kutu Achampong became head of state.
Correct.
And
then they made the soldiers the ministers. Yeah.
You remember some of them?
Yes, I think Solomon was also one of them.
He became commissioner.
Commissioner, they all became commissioners. Yes,
Yeah.
there are quite a lot of them. Magbo, who else? Amedume, Joy. Because Joy was the head of the Navy at the time. Yeah, I knew Joy because when we were in Zion College, he was a young person, you know, in Angloga. So I knew him.
Oh, you're older than him?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Much older than him. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And he was such an affable individual.
So we are told.
So calm, so unassuming. You know, I tell you, the day that I heard that people were shot, and somebody said there was a fat person among them. And I said, you don't mean Joy? I mean, I wept. I said, what has he done? Because they were alleging about corruption. I said, that man went and borrowed, I think, 50 cedis in today's money, from the bank to complete house he was building in Tema. How could you kill such a person on assumption that the person was corrupt?
Akasam, so we are in your adult life, you then would have seen 2 coups d'etats.
Yeah, actually 3.
3. 3.
Yeah,
so
66.
Yes.
Then 72.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that at this point.
Okay.
At this point.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And you had your own misgivings about the military and how they can run countries.
That's correct.
Wow.
That one, I never joke about it.
I know.
Yes, I always tell people that governance is not a matter for the military at all.
Uncle Sam says governance is not a matter for the military. He didn't just say that, he said at all.
At all.
Well, this is where we lower the curtains for this episode of Footprint with Uncle Sam. Lawyer Sam Okudzeto. We'll end it here, but we'll have a second part where he's going to take us through the Achampong period and the days ahead, the Rollins time and all them that followed. So while we end here, just stay tuned to Citi TV. We'll be back another time with Footprint. My name is Samuel Attah-Mensah.